Yeah. It's quite a setup, man.
All right, Don Baham, Rubicon.
Yo!
Here in Nashville.
Nashville. Having some fun.
Nashville, Tennessee. Don, you showed up and you're like, what in the world is happening here?
Electric Hummer and all kinds of good stuff. This is fun.
You know, this is the first time I'm driving this car, so if we crash, it's probably my fault.
I wouldn't imagine you will. So you'll be fine. Look at all the tech in this thing. It's going to be great.
I know. We brought the lights, we brought you, we brought the fire. So I have to tell everyone this story. You are probably my most hilarious customer of all time. This dude, he is the king of getting things done. So
hey,
first off,
and I appreciate it, man. You get things done for me.
Yeah, but when you want, now it's become a little bit of a joke. I'm like, what angle is he going to use now? He sends his guy from the bottom. He sends like every single other peer of yours as well, and says, oh, Don requested.
Reaching out to my network. All right, you got to ping Kunal. We need to get this.
We need to get this done.
Yep. And it was effective.
And it was effective. It was hilarious, but even more effective. I think sometimes, interestingly, because you're so connected in the Nashville scene, like what would you say is like the kind of secret sauce to being connected?
Oh, what is this? Just getting out there. I mean, the longer in my career that I've gone, it's all about relationships. Mm-hmm. So I moved here in 2013 and I didn't know a soul. And so I've just made it kind of a purpose to get out there and connect, get to networking meetings, become part of associations.
There is an association here though, right?
There are several different associations here around cybersecurity, ISSA, ISACA, CSA, InfraGard. So I was on boards of most of those local associations and just got out and built some relationships, which has been fantastic. They've been great for me personally and professionally, but also I've been able to give back, and I think this is a great community out here. So
do you think that there's one that you'd recommend for people to start with? Like the one that, what are you most involved with?
Well, it's interesting. I'm winding down my involvement in some of the local associations because here's the flip side to it. You can be too committed, and I was serving on 3 boards at one time. It was getting a little ridiculous. So,
right.
I mean, if you're starting out in your career, ISSA, the local ISSA chapter is fantastic. If you're on the risk and compliance side with a little bit of cyber, ISACA is fantastic.
Right.
InfraGard has, was very useful for me and very, and really important part of the local community here for quite some time. Some of that has dipped off as some of the local FBI agents haven't been out as much. Some of that was COVID, so that's starting to pick back up. But
FBI.
Sounds
scary.
They're fun. I mean, like, I met the most FBI agent that I've ever met here, and he's retired now, a friend. But that was a great organization, still is. And it's got, some connections there that you can make, which is great to have local law enforcement connections in case you need to call somebody when something bad happens.
Yeah, fair.
Cloud Security Alliance is one that started up in the last 5 years, and it's got some fantastic membership and momentum. So a lot of great options out here.
Nice. And so when you came in, I mean, I know that like there's been people that you've kind of guided or helped or pushed into, like our buddy over at Imagine. It's like Craig Barber. You know, he like needed to get in, he needed to get a new gig, and I think you helped him get that, right?
I did. Yeah, he moved over here from England a couple of years ago, and he's a great guy. And he was working at another company. In one of our portfolio companies, we had a position opening up where, I was serving as the fractional CISO for one of our portcos. A local healthcare company, and they opened up a rec for a full-time security leader, and I thought of Craig, and I actually brought a few people into that interview process, but Craig did really well, and since then, their CTO is singing his praises. He's doing really well.
Yeah, he's
a good guy.
A great guy, super chill. He's becoming incredibly American from British to being all American about everything. I don't know.
It's still fun to hear him talk.
Exactly. I think he's the only British person here.
The only one I've met. So.
The only one in Nashville. No, he's a funny dude. But do you think that, why don't you tell people a little bit about Rubicon? Because it's a little bit different than most companies, right?
Yeah. So it's a private equity firm. So we're healthcare investment focused. So we only started in 2021. So pretty young firm. We got headquarters here in Nashville, and we start and invest in healthcare companies, a lot around value-based healthcare, and it's kind of a different way to look at how you provide healthcare to individuals. Instead of fee-for-service, it's value-based, so kind of outcome-based. We take on some of the risk for that in our portfolio companies, and then we specialize. So we mentioned Craig went to a pediatrics company We've got nephrology and primary care and some clinical research companies and a variety of other different specialties around healthcare. We're starting one around oncology. So we look for a niche in the market, build a practice around it, and launch it. And so
what would you say is it's like private equity in the sense that you guys own most of the company, or?
When we started, for sure. Yes. Yeah. Now we have done some majority investments and minority investments in other healthcare.
But this wouldn't be considered VC at all.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah. So it's and this is my first time working in a PE firm. I actually was started in a kind of a little bit of backstory on how I got here. So the CEO of our company, Adam Bowler, he was the CEO of Landmark Health. And at the time when he was still operating at Landmark, I was at a consulting company and I did fractional CISO work. And so I was the fractional CISO for Landmark Health and really enjoyed my time there. Ended up running a team of 12. I think we had 3 when I started, and I was leading a team of 12 there. And Landmark sold to Optum. And a few years later, Adam started Rubicon Founders, moved out from California and started this Rubicon Founders here. And through network and relationships, somebody called and said, hey, Rubicon actually owns a shared service company called Germantown Technologies, and they need a CISO. And what we did was kind of like an MSP for our portfolio companies.
Got it.
So when a portco needed IT services or security services, they would come to us versus going externally.
Got it. So then you can use all the same technologies, all the same security practices. By the way, we're in the middle of our favorite
Broadway. Yeah. I only come down here when I'm entertaining friends or family and or CISOs in cars.
CISOs in cars. I had to drive by here. There's no option.
It's morning and, not a lot going on here, but
people are still going home now.
Exactly.
No, that's really cool. I think private equity, I have to give a shout out to the VC, private equity, IT, VCP, IT, because they're so well connected. But I think earlier
and that's one of the peer groups I reached out to hammer you on.
Hammer me.
We need on dope.
Arm support.
Exactly.
But interestingly, when you moved from something else, some other industry to private equity, what would you say is the main difference?
Private equity moves fast. Now, I had some exposure to private equity at a previous managed service provider 10 plus years ago. The company I was working for acquired another MSP, and their customer base was with PEs out in the Bay Area. So think Sequoia and some of the other larger ones. So that had limited exposure to that on the service side. But man, when you move into working at a PE, it's they move fast, very fast, and they
move fast in terms of purchase or in terms of
fast,
making a new company.
The business moves fast, right? So what's required, we need it tomorrow. It's not like long-term project planning necessarily. So that's something to get used to.
There's this weird juxtaposition of people thinking if you're getting owned by private equity, then you're old school kind of thing.
But I understand that mentality. We, at least at our firm,
tech might be different, for example.
Yes, tech's a little bit different. Yes, correct. And in healthcare, it's we got a lot going on.
We got someone else over here in the Versace.
This is amazing. I hope they can see that. But anyway, I don't think that's necessarily the case for us, and we give a lot of autonomy to our portfolio companies. But internally we move fast. We want to get things done. We don't necessarily want technology and security to slow us down. So you've got to be able to pivot and move quickly. And what you might have as a strategic plan for X number of months or years, is going to shift pretty quickly, and you got to be able to think on your feet there and move and adjust. And then the other thing I would say is that as a security leader specifically, because I lead technology and security at Rubicon, we're
like internal tech that you use.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. So I do both. And from a security perspective, you cannot be black and white. Yes, you need to remain secure. You need to do things securely. You need to have the foundations in place. But you need to live a little bit in the gray area, especially as you're launching new companies.
Right.
They're not going to be able to have all the best things, all the right things in place from day one. And so you have to know, how do we operate in the gray area where we are as secure enough for the stage company that they're at, while not being overkill and stifling their growth at the same time.
Do you think that, like, because in a lot of tech companies, like, it's a little bit of a bias, right? Because if you're in a tech company out of the Bay, which is obviously where I'm from, the people almost exclusively use things like Mac, right?
Sure.
So do you think that there's like a bias in private equity as well, or these kind of companies that you work with, or healthcare in general?
Hey, it all depends on where the person came from. So, example, we have an insurtech company that most of their resources are in the Bay Area.
Right.
And yeah, there's some preferences around Mac devices, platforms, productivity suites.
Okay,
we want
Google
versus 365. Absolutely. And then, like I mentioned, Imagine Pediatrics, the healthcare company, CTOs from the Bay Area, right? So she's got some tendencies for more of that, Google Workspace, Mac type of environment versus where we traditionally set up is 365 and some of the Windows platforms.
I think it's like doing both is always more difficult than doing one.
100%. But also healthcare is going to be more geared toward kind of the Microsoft
stack,
typically.
I actually we use both. In my, but ultimately, like in our company, chose Google just because of the ease of use and everything like that.
Yes.
But we all have to use Mac and Windows, of course, which never makes it easy.
No, and we support, we have companies, a lot of our portfolio companies will use both. Depends on, some developers, want to be on a Mac, or, marketing departments have a preference. So you typically have to build systems that support both platforms, but
from a cyber perspective, like, do you find it difficult to do the one or the other, or the Mac side, the Windows side?
Not really. From a cyber perspective, a lot of the tool sets are on both platforms. I would say more so foundational IT management function is a little bit more challenging on the Mac. You do have to, Microsoft is coming along in some of their capabilities, but you kind of need specialized platforms like a Jamf or something like Comji. Yeah. So, you need to add on a platform like that, but that's not that big of a deal, or pretty intuitive, and you can, kind of manage it like you can with any Windows device. So they've come a long way, and I think that tool sets aren't really the barrier anymore.
Yeah, tons of people really want to get into your position. It's interesting, right? Because when I used to be in a bigger cybersecurity company, but you don't really have that day-to-day interaction, I would say, with customers. You do. You talk to customers daily, but it's like more, action reaction based. You have a problem, we have a conversation. We want to open up a deal, you have a conversation, a roadmap review, or a customer presentation, whatever. Here in Dope, it's extremely close knit, and I try to make it even more close knit, where you're like, hey, texting and this and that, cracking jokes, because then it almost creates this familiarity. But there's also people that want to be like you, that want to be in your position. What do you kind of guide them on who want to be in your position one day?
That want to be in a CISO position?
Yeah, specifically CISO, because I can tell you there's a lot of security engineers that even watch this, they want to be like that.
Got it. Yeah, it's interesting. I think you got to, you got to know yourself. I have some, people on my team that definitely don't want to be in my position.
Oh, really?
And some that, and I have out on teams that do want to. And I think it depends on, do you know what you really want? And sometimes you can't figure that out until you take the leap and you get into a leadership position or something like that. I'll kind of bring it back to earlier in my career when I thought I wanted to be a people leader.
Yeah.
I wanted to lead people. This is kind of a career progression. I want to move into a manager position. I didn't really know what I was taking on or what I was really asking for. And what I mentor to other younger professionals is you're not going to know until you get into that people leader position if that's something you really enjoy or if it's something you really don't. And so take the leap. Go find a path to get into your first, lead position, manager position, something like that, and determine, all right, is this what I enjoy doing? Because as a security leader, as a CISO or any type of leader, typically you're gonna be managing people, and that's not for everybody. So
it's like because it's time consuming or because it's not as fun.
It's time consuming. It's dealing with. I mean, people have problems, so they're gonna come to you with, I've got some issues to work out, or I need your help, or you're not just working on stuff for yourself. And then depending on, again, how you progress to your career, then you are helping other people be great
successful
leaders as well.
Right.
So like you're kind of cascading it down, and you got multiple levels within your team. So I took the leap. I had an opportunity. I really enjoyed it, and that allowed me to help continue to progress in my career to a position like I have now, where I've been at larger companies, I've been at smaller companies. I tend to enjoy the smaller companies just because of some of the dynamics and typically fewer politics. But I really enjoy leading people. I enjoy leading programs. I enjoy building programs. But that's, as I've gone throughout my career and gained other experiences, discovered that's really what I enjoy.
What you enjoy doing,
yeah. And so some people don't, and that's okay.
Yeah, we had this thing where there's a product manager who just wanted to be a product manager. They didn't want to be the director, senior director, kind of like level. It was fine for them to go in and be PM.
Yeah,
it's okay.
Yeah, and you can have a great impact on an organization too.
Exactly.
I remember one of my earlier. So I was getting, this was probably.
But sometimes people conflate like managing people or creating an army of people
with like, then you've made
success.
It like success. And I had a manager hire me in 2007-ish in an organization. Really smart guy. He's retired at this point. Like fantastic guy. But after a couple of years, he was just realizing that people leadership, he's the VP of something. It was just killing him physically. Like his health was deteriorating. So thankfully at that company, because he was so valuable, they created a new position without any direct reports in research and development, and he was happy. He was making a big impact on the organization, and he was really happy and healthier. So you don't have to become a people leader. Most likely then, you're not going to be a CISO, but you can find a principal, an architect, R&D.
So you would say like one, do you really want to be one?
Yes.
It's probably part one. Part two is, okay, you want to be one, then finding the leadership role in some way, shape, or form, which then gets you to be a CISO.
Correct. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a security leadership. For me, again, I've been doing this for a little while, but security was not my first leadership position. I started more on the system administration side, moved into kind of the risk and compliance side, and then moved back into a more technical line and into security leadership. So you can find your path and build your leadership skills elsewhere
into other areas and take it from there.
Yep.
Do you think that like this area is something you're going to stay in, or you'd recommend to people?
Security?
Well, no, cyber for sure, but also other areas, right?
So, I enjoy security. I think that, what the future holds for me, I don't know for sure. But I enjoy doing new things. So like right now, for example, I'm taking a Carnegie Mellon course, the Chief Information and Digital Officer certificate program, executive education program. And
what would they teach you like in there? Like
so cyber was one module. I think we've got 20 different modules. It's design thinking, product management, financial acumen, IT governance, IT strategy. It's all over the place, and you've got kind of this 6-month program with 5 different deliverables, 2 different presentations, big capstone, and you're working on a group project.
And then it's like full on.
Yeah, and it's fantastic. I'm learning quite a bit, and which I enjoy. A lifelong learner, always will be. You have to be in this field, especially. I don't ever want to not have, I think, cyber in my in the team or organization in my role, but
you like that a lot.
But I like expanding beyond that too, and thinking about, especially as you become a security leader or as you progress in your career, you got to think beyond how does security impact the rest of the organization? How does the rest of the organization's goals align, or how do I align a security program, or how do I do that for this particular organization, this particular team, versus doing some cyber program in a vacuum, and getting outside of the security walls and looking at technology and digital efforts helps you kind of frame that a little bit better.
I mean, there's definitely like a lot of tools that you have to use in cyber and stuff like that, and operationalize as well. Do you like typically in your kind of case with organization, do you do a mixture of internal people managing this stuff and then some external, or how do you deal?
Yeah, typically. So like for us at Rubicon, we've got an internal team and kind of a mix of technology support and security operations, but then we have an external team doing some tier 1 help desk kind of work, and then we also have a external security operations function as well that does some initial triage work before sending over alerts or investigations to us. So it's a combination. I think there's pros. Again, it's all about relationships. So building a good rapport with your technology partners
makes sense.
You have to. And so if you don't have that, and they're not, if you've inherited, let's say, a relationship that's not quite as healthy, they're not serving your needs externally, then maybe it's time to change or repair the relationship. But if you get a good set of partners in there, you can do a lot with that combination of internal external.
Yeah. There's a ton of extra, efforts and thoughts that go into this stuff. I mean, over time, I'm sure you've seen, hey, if you have people that are willing to help you when you have a problem, those are the best people, right?
100%. Yeah. I mean, and they feel invested. And look, I've come from that service provider side as well. And so I've been in that seat for 10, 15 years. In some cases, depending on how you want to categorize professional services, but I've been on the other side of that. And so I know what it takes to have a good relationship with your clients, and the programs you have to do, and kind of how you have to invest on the relationship side. Even though your services and your tech might be great, you got to do a lot on the relationship side. So finding partners like that makes our job a lot easier.
Are you planning on kind of doing something new, something on the kind of internal side? Is there some new project you're planning on working on?
On the internal side, I mean, we're let's see, where do we start? We're building out, so this is again kind of specific to private equity. But we're building out kind of a cyber risk oversight and advisory management program for our portfolio companies.
Right.
So it's measuring risk across the portfolio, helping them to elevate their security programs. And again, we give a lot of autonomy to our operators. So, but there needs to be some sort of baseline structure. These are the things that we want to see in this area, and then how do we measure against that to make sure everybody is elevating their security programs, including Rubicon. So this will be things like, bringing dope and other security technologies in. Hey, this isn't a have to have, but we need you to have something in this category.
Got it.
And these are the
what are those top 5 things that you want each one of your portcos to have?
I've got a list of 13 that are kind of like those baseline controls, but also
number 1.
Yeah. Now I'm trying to remember those 13. I probably shouldn't have said that out loud, because now I've got to count down here. But
definitely SSO.
SSO and MFA. Okay, so I couple those together just because they're so tightly integrated. So you've got to have
IAM.
Yeah, exactly. You've got to have some basic structure around that where you're not chasing IDs and passwords and not having MFA and you got, so it's things like, okay, do we understand conditional access in Microsoft 365? How are we utilizing it? So on and so forth. We need to have like a true EDR agent. So EDR, MDR, XDR, a lot of ways to figure that out, but let's see what that looks like. So do you have the SentinelOne or a CrowdStrike or, some mainstream EDR?
Do you recommend people to use the Defender, or do you prefer when they go in and use something else?
Oh, on Defender? Microsoft. Love Microsoft, hate Microsoft at the same time. But Defender's interesting. We don't actually, we use it in passive mode. Let's say a Rubicon. And some folks have in a portfolio, that's what they're using primarily or only. I'm not ready to make that be the only agent on the device.
You prefer like a CrowdStrike SentinelOne?
Correct. Yeah. So they got to have something like that and a good program to manage it. Patching. So whatever you're using to patch, again, don't care. You could use Microsoft, you could use a third party, but is that program actually patching and doing true patching plus vulnerability management?
Right.
That's hard to do in the beginning of a company, but you need to establish, beyond patching, what does vulnerability management look like?
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely, there's tools out there to help.
Yep. There absolutely are tools, and buying a tool isn't the solution. You actually have to have a program in place that manages it. So it looks for the exceptions, and what are these 5 devices that don't have this patch, and do they need to be rebooted? Do they need to be rebuilt? So on and so forth. There's a lot of things to that other than just buying a tool, which is helpful. You got to have a good tool, but you got to have a good process around it as well.
What's next?
Let's see, security awareness training. So how are we bringing our employees along in that security journey and making security champions? So especially we're a small team.
Right.
We've got outsourced partners to help as well, but we need the employees to come along and help us out. So let's do we know what phishing is? Do we know what smishing is? Do we know how to report something? Come to us. Don't be the team that, don't be a security organization that repels your employees away. We want them to talk to us.
Kind of be involved.
Bring some information to us. Tell us what you're doing. So, and how can we infuse that into kind of how you're operating? So security awareness is.
So you're these are all equally weighted or sort of prioritized?
I think the patching and MFA SSO are probably the two foundational controls.
Okay, got it.
If you don't have that, forget it. Everything else kind of goes out the window. And I'd say endpoint protection is probably the third. So you've got, patching, MFA, SSO, endpoint protection.
Right.
Those are going to be super critical.
Makes sense. I mean, kind of want to
and then security awareness and some others that kind of fall alongside that. But you got to have those foundational controls. And I would also say around security controls, this all is highly dependent on having good IT hygiene. So asset management.
That's an overarching type of thing.
So you got to kind of know what your surface area is. If you don't have that, it's hard to secure it clearly.
Yeah, I mean, what's this? I mean, it's all interesting when you take this together and then you give it to your portco essentially.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, sometimes there's lots of, call it startups in these areas and stuff like that. Do you find that it makes more sense for these kinds of things where they're so customized to you to just do something internally?
Or you mean as far as
if you think about it, it's well, you're basically hey, there's a 13-point checklist. Do they have, what's their maturity on that model? Can I figure out something in theory, you could say, hey, you're using, for example, Kanji. Sure. You could use the APIs of Kanji, ingest some information, put it together into a little mini report.
You could, yeah,
so
absolutely.
Do you prefer to do that sort of in your own customized way, or do you prefer to, in this case, is there some sort of a technology or tool that you would use instead? The build versus buy.
Yeah, so it's a good question. So I for us, I'm going to lean more on off-the-shelf kind of tech programs or services that are built, because typically, especially as we're launching a portfolio company, we're going to help in the beginning kind of stand things up, but I don't necessarily want them dependent on my security team managing it. So we need something to be able to hand off to them and create continuity. So typically that's going to mean off-the-shelf programs, off-the-shelf services that go with the portfolio company
to
wherever they go, the MSP they bring in.
I think it's a good idea though for you internally. It's like you can go in, see what's going on there, and you know, take it together.
Yeah.
But you know, we're almost at the end of our ride.
Oh my
here.
gosh,
I know already. I know, dude. Went by so fast. I gotta ask you, like, dude, you're wearing a dope jacket.
I am.
Like, yeah. What's the dope story? How'd you find out about
dope? Oh my gosh, how did I find out
Elliot?
about dope? Oh, was it Elliot? Okay, so another peer relationship, right? And yeah, dope. You guys have been awesome. You displaced Zscaler for us. We were looking to find a different solution other than the typical that are out there. And so we started investigating. We found dope. We looked at a couple other products, to be honest. But yeah, Elliot highly recommended dope. In fact, I think we signed before Elliot signed.
Not before Elliot.
But anyway, but yeah, it's been fantastic. You guys have been great to work with, and you're part of, again, why I like working with sometimes smaller, newer, more nimble companies too. Is you get to do stuff like this. You get to have a relationship with the founder, and do CISOs in cars and grab drinks at Hampton Social when you're out here, and kind of do things like that. So
Hampton Social, dude.
Hampton Social, man. But you guys did exactly what we needed to do in displacing Zscaler, and you guys gave us an effective product. And all we need now is ARM support. So.
Well, it's interesting when you think about product management. Like, the reason why we didn't build that in day one is because it was never available.
Yeah.
Then the reason why we didn't build it on day two is because most of our customers didn't use it. And still, while they don't or they do, it starts to become this groundswell of like, hey, this is why it's important.
Yeah.
I think like one thing that you do very well, which I would recommend to anyone really, is explaining what is in it for you, right? For example, we talked about it and you're like, well, kind of like we're using these, non-ARM based processors, and those laptops are just genuinely not as good quality as the ARM-based ones.
Yeah.
So then you think about and so then it's like, well, what do I do from here? And so for us, it gives this business reason where it's like, dude, they don't want to use this either. We internally use obviously M1, M2, M3, on the Mac side. It makes a lot of sense, and sometimes explaining that reasoning, because not always that the PM is going to ask. Obviously, I asked you, why are you so interested in using this? Because that's really important as well.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate that question because it does give you the context. Okay, well, we have a fleet of these operating in the environment, some of which are being used by individuals that have access to a lot of
confidential information.
So to remember this for what?
Exactly.
So that feedback. So now.
We're all trying to give help, but thank you so much. See you next time, man. Take care. Talk to you soon. Dope.